At least 6 known victims met the wrong end of an axe in the early 20th century in New Orleans. But it's speculated that more victims may be tied to a brutal killer that put the city in a widespread panic from 1918 to 1919. This killer targeted Italian immigrants, but he didn't seem to mind killing women, men, and even children. So stick around if you can hack it, because today we're talking about the myth, the legend, and the real piece of shit person that came to be known as the Axeman of New Orleans.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
It's alive!
I was with you.
They're coming to get you by the power of Christ. This is
Me?
Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
What's going on, Matt? You doing all right?
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm fabulous. We have a special guest this week. How are you doing, Lindy? Thanks for joining us today.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, when somebody tells me they know more about this than I do, then I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do this shit.
Get out of it, man.
Fuck yeah, brah. Fuck yeah.
That shit.
I can't help it. I've been up for a while.
I haven't waxed my surfboard in ever.
Forever, brah. I want to, before we get started here, I want to point out that since the last time we've released an episode, we do have a website now. It's hmfppod.com. You can go check out the latest episodes on there, as well as links to the YouTube. And also, we have a little shop set up in there, and you can purchase some sweet swag if you so desire to do so.
Nothing too stimmy.
Nothing too stimmy, no. You can pick up yourself a Doris beer shirt. You can get a Hot Ed's Nipple Belt Emporium shirt. And it all basically helps support the podcast, you know. So if you want to help support the podcast, that's one way to do it. Another way is just spread the word. So thank you guys for the continued support. And
yes,
I'm going to leave it alone at that.
Yeah, and I do want to get a hold of Schmeebs and see if we can't brew us up some Doris beer. We'll try it first. And then let's
see if it doesn't kill you first, right? Well, you two would be the ones I would want to check it out and make sure it's doable.
Schmeebs knows how to brew some beer.
Oh, I know he does.
Figure something out.
Yeah. I've had many beer shits from some of Schmeebs' beer.
That's not a good advertisement.
Well, it worked really well.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit is right. All right. Well, so before we get into like these murders and stuff, I thought it would be a good idea to describe New Orleans at the time of these occurrences. So, Lindy, if I fuck any of this up, just feel free to say, bullshit, motherfucker. That's wrong. It was like this. So,
Got it.
Okay. So the early 1900s was a time of great change, turmoil in New Orleans. It was still recovering from, the Civil War, Reconstruction, and it was undergoing significant changes socially, economically, and culturally. Am I on base so far? Okay.
So far.
So far. All right. So after slavery was abolished in 1860, there were a lot of Italian immigrants that relocated to the South to work on all these plantations alongside black laborers. And just like the blacks, they became victims of discrimination amongst the white Southerners. Sicilian immigrants in particular were looked down on as quote unquote suspicious, ignorant, and having undesirable characteristics. It's kind of weird, huh?
No, that seems to hit the mark. That's how they treat people.
Yeah,
Irish immigrants were treated the same. I mean,
yeah, but these Italians, I mean, they saved up every damn dime they could, and by the early 1900s, many of these laborers had saved up enough of their earnings to start their own small businesses in New Orleans. Many of these immigrants then relocated to the French Quarter, which was a slum at the time in the lower part of the district near the Mississippi River. And it came to be known as Little Palermo, this area. So far, so good? Am I good?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
attacking
still
you
with me?
yet, man.
All
I
right.
can't wait.
Just waiting. I'm waiting for the axe to come down.
I just want to stop you right now. Is the axe the lucky murder tool that gets you away with everything?
It must
'Cause it's
be.
like, this wasn't solved. The Velasca axe murder house, that wasn't solved. It's just like, you just need that simple tool and you'll be cool.
I guess
You'll
at
be
the
fine.
time it was the easiest thing to use to kill somebody if you could hack it. But
Okay, here we
sorry, can't help myself.
I can't. You eat shit. I'm not letting you go. Whatever.
So all the people, all the white Southerners there, they took offense to all these Italians coming in, and they saw them as a threat, So they all faced constant persecution from all these white Southerners. And it was also fueled by the outbreak of World War I, which, Italy was definitely a part of it. They were one of the Axis powers, in case you didn't know, Matt.
I'm on it.
Okay.
I watched the History Channel with my grandpa for many, many a year.
Okay. So, in addition to this, New Orleans was also renowned for its lively music scene with what's this? It's called. Is it Jaws? Jazz. That's it.
Evil music.
Being one of the most popular genres, but it was not universally accepted and was often associated with deviant members of society and immorality.
I wish those people could hear Slayer. I seriously fucking wish that. You think jazz is bad? Strap this on, motherfucker.
So against all the backdrop of all these social and cultural tensions, the Axeman murders added to the atmosphere of fear and panic in this city. Okay, and the newspaper coverage of the killer targeting the Italian Americans only enhanced the prejudices and mistrust, leading to a sense of paranoia and suspicion against the Italian community.
Well, wasn't it that the Italians got along with the African Americans?
Yeah.
Because
They worked side by side together.
They worked together.
Yeah.
But
They could get along with everybody, but the white people.
Well,
Go
thank
figure.
God things are different now.
Right?
No one does that anymore.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so before we get to the 1819 shit that happened, I thought we should probably bring up this speculation of all these several victims that happened prior to that in 1910. Am I still on base, Lindy?
1911.
Well, it started in 1910 and went through
He's going to ask
1911.
you if he's right and then tell you that you're wrong.
Wrong! So this mysterious figure dubbed the Cleaver attacked Italian grocers in New Orleans in the fall of 1910, but it wasn't until 1911 and that one of these attacks turned deadly. So we're both right.
So he started with a cleaver and then stepped his game up to an axe.
I guess he had to work his way up to it. I don't know. Maybe he just couldn't lift the axe at first. He had to do some reps, bro. So this grocer named Joe Davi, 26-year-old Italian immigrant who owned a grocery store, and his pregnant wife, Mary, in the early hours of June 27th, 1911, Mary woke up, saw this shadowy figure standing over their bed, and she claims that this intruder demanded money, and when she didn't answer him, he just struck her on the head, knocking her out. And then when she came to, she saw her husband lying next to her with his skull cracked open. And he died the next day. So doctors said that
She's checking notes.
He was.
That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, I know.
think she's checking notes.
Doctors said that he was struck with a large edged heavy blade in the near the center of his head, something heavy enough to crush through his skull and his scalp, which they claim to be like a butcher's cleaver, perhaps.
Right.
Mary described the attacker as a tall, clean-shaven white man wearing workman's clothes, and that he spoke with a very American accent, had no accent. So he was from America. He wasn't.
He was white bread.
Pretty much, yeah. Goddamn white boy right there. White boy, white bread. Mm-hmm.
As this story goes on, it is crazy what the human body can handle.
Oh my God. Yeah. So police suspected that this killer was probably the same person responsible for several similar attacks that had happened in the previous year, 1910. Both of those victims being Italian grocers as well, but they had survived. And the newspapers had dubbed this attacker the Cleaver. But after Joe Davi's death, all this activity seemed to stop.
Yeah, because he was fired. He couldn't do his job properly.
No. Like, no. All right. I'll go with it. I'll allow it. So, during the midst of all this confusion, the governor offered a $500 reward to anyone with any information regarding to the murder, but no one came forward. The chief of detectives at the time, Jim Reynolds, he hired another detective named John D'Antonio to help on the case, and he was basically a liaison and knew all about the Italian mafia and the mob side of things, so that's why he was brought in. They looked
the mafia then.
Yeah, they looked into the mafia, but they found no evidence linking any mafia ties to Joe Davi, even though D'Antonio thought that the mafia had probably been involved. If they had been involved, they wouldn't have left him alive when they left the scene. That they would have got the job done right then and there. So,
I don't think they would have drawn attention to themselves like that either.
Yeah, they would have probably just killed them both and taken.
I think it would have been short and sweet. I don't think it would have been an axe. I think it would have been a gunshot.
Yeah, gun would
Then
make
we
a lot
go
more
away.
sense. Yeah.
Took care of the problem. Pay me.
And without any leads, the police had to sit around and wait for another attack, and then another attack didn't happen for 7 years. And in that 7 years, the police force had changed significantly and was pretty much all forgotten about, this Cleaver person. I think Detective Reynolds would be killed before the next attack, and then this John D'Antonio guy, he was retired, and the entire police force had seen a large change in personnel. So when these other occurrences happened in 1918, they didn't really think about this Cleaver dude and didn't really tie it together. So let's see here. By that time, the new director or the new chief of the police department, Frank T. Mooney, had taken over, and he really had no business being chief of the police. I think he.
No, are you going to sit here and tell me we're getting into a bad police organization that don't do their
we're
job?
we're talking about fucking New Orleans, dude. Yeah.
Okay. I was just checking to see if this story was going to match.
I don't know if anybody's
fucking
ever
other
told
one
you
we've
this,
done.
but it's not the place you want to get arrested, because they'll just fucking arrest you for anything and just be like, how much money you got? Well, that's not enough. Go better call somebody.
I'll be going to jail.
Fucking extortion. Yeah. Fucking crooked cops. We've done this a lot.
No. This is definitely the first episode. I swear to God, one day we'll do one when there's some super cop that catches some bad guy.
Fuck,
But for our track record right now, it's 100% terrible police force.
Yeah, the batting average is not good.
No.
So from May 1918 to October 1919, a serial killer claimed at least 6 victims, most of whom were attacked with an axe while they slept in their homes. The city of New Orleans was plagued by this serial killer known as the Axeman, who would chisel his way into the victim's back door, find whatever was available. Usually everyone had a fucking axe, and proceed to hacking away. Real fucking classy dude.
Bad at his job. I mean, really.
Well, I don't know.
He had a batting average of 50-50.
Was it 50-50? Well, okay.
He's doing better than the
Please
fucking,
correct me.
doing better than the fucking cops. I know that. Jesus.
He was doing, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, for sure. So the first victims of the Axeman were also Italian grocers. A fellow by the name of Joseph Maggio and his wife Catherine were murdered in their apartment above their store. The killer had slit their throats with a straight razor and then bludgeoned them with an axe in an attempt to make it look like they had died from that. Joseph's brother Andrew had just found out he had been drafted to World War I, and he had been out that night drinking heavily. He came home around 3 a.m., stumbled into bed, and he lived with both Joseph and Catherine, and he woke up around 4:30 when he heard strange sounds coming through the wall, which separated his room from their room. And I'm not talking about the good, strange kind of sounds.
Yeah.
You know? So
But he came home blasted drunk and said he woke up from noises?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could have drove a fucking semi through my bedroom if I came home blasted drunk. I ain't waking up for shit. No way.
Well, he was too scared to go check on him, so he put his clothes on. He ran down to his brother's house. His brother Jacob lived just down the street, and proceeded to tell Jacob, "Come on, we got to go. You got to come with me and check this out."
I solved the case. That guy did it.
Well,
it's done. It's done. That guy did it.
Well, fuck. Well, this episode's over then.
Yep. See, we win. All right. Have a good time, guys.
All right. See you later. No, they come back. They knock on the door. They hear no answer, so they open the door, and shit, I forgot about the part where they come back. They notice that the back door has been opened. One of the wood panels has been removed from the back door they notice somebody's broken into the house. Sorry about
Afraid
that.
to jump on his ass if he misses something.
I know. Come on, Lindy. Jesus.
You come at him.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
So
He's
they
waiting
go.
for you to fuck up.
I know. They go and knock on the door, and no answer. So they open the door, and they find that Catherine is on the floor in a pool of her own blood, and her throat is slit, and it's so severe that she's almost decapitated.
That's some aggression.
And there's Joseph on the bed, blood-soaked bed, by the way. His head is split open. He's barely breathing, and they immediately, they go and call for an ambulance and the police. But before the ambulance even arrives, Joseph died. Like, as soon as the cops come on the scene, that he's gasping his last breath.
Axe wound to the face and a slit throat, I think will do that.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah. So for several days, the police search the area for evidence that they find the axe used in the murders in the bathtub down the hall of the home, and it belonged to Joseph Maggio. And they also find a shirt that looks like it's got some blood stains on it in the younger brother's room, Andrew's room. So they're starting to think maybe he did it.
I don't know the way these cops function. I'm not surprised if they would have went in there and been like, it's definitely a murder-suicide.
Right.
Killed her and then plunged the axe in his own fucking forehead.
One of the neighbors also found a straight razor in the rose trellis in the neighbor's house, and so the cops take it and they think, okay, this is a murder weapon right here.
I think you just whipped it.
Yeah. So it looks like it probably killed him with a razor and then had used the blunt end of an axe just to cover it up.
He wasn't even using the sharp side.
Yeah, it was the blunt end of the axe that he used. So the razor was supposedly Joseph's brother Andrew's, who was a barber. And he'd claimed that he'd given this razor to a guy to sharpen it earlier. The cops went to his workplace, showed the razor, and his boss was like, yeah, it kind of looks like one of his razors. But then later, they find the razor that belonged to Andrew actually in his room with like 3 other razors. He's a fucking barber, so he's going to have razors, right? So
probably know to sharpen them as well.
Yeah. Well,
it
was enough that they took both the brothers in for questioning, and Jacob, the older of the two, he was released pretty quickly, but Andrew was held for interrogation for quite a while, like days. They would not let him attend his brother's funeral. They would scream at him for hours on end, and even threw his brother's bloody clothes at him, trying to force him to confess to these murders. But he just maintained his innocence. He's like, I didn't fucking do this. Why the fuck would I kill my brother? He's the one that, brought me over here and paid for me to come here from Italy. Why would I kill him? I love my brother. So they eventually let him go. They find out that the shirt that they find, that they think is probably bloodstains, it's a shirt that he was wearing to a wedding, and he spilled red wine on it. So, boom, there you go, back to square one.
They won't let go of something once they got it. They were like, "This has to be it."
Yeah,
we don't want anybody coming down on us anymore. We solved this.
They're fucking lazy. Yeah,
fucking did our.
There was also a mysterious message written in chalk found near the scene of the crime that read, "Mrs. Maggio will sit up tonight, just like Mrs. Tony." And the cops really didn't know what this meant, but when the papers got word of it, some of them said it was, "We'll sit up tonight like Mrs. Tony," and then some of them said, I can't remember, it was slightly different. It was like 3 different versions of this in the multiple papers, but they knew it was a reference to one of the couples attacked, that I mentioned earlier in 1911.
It's like some Jack the Ripper shit, though.
Yeah. These victims were Anthony and Joanna Scrambia. I'm not Italian. I don't know. Scrambra. But I guess they called Joanna.
He nailed it.
Mrs. Tony.
Yeah, exactly. Good job.
By some of her customers. Anyway, the weird thing about this particular case, these people were actually shot. No axes were used in that particular crime.
That sounds more like the Black Hand doing, or the Mafia doing that than these other ones. But yeah.
So after the papers ran this article, Andrew was released. Cops couldn't find enough evidence to charge him, and at that point they realized, okay, well, maybe we're dealing with this Cleaver person. Kind of fucked up.
A little bit.
So it's about a month later, in June, and the Axeman strikes again. But this time they weren't Italian. They were Polish. At least one of them was.
Well, that goes away from
the MO, yeah. 60-year-old Louis Bessemer, who ran a grocery store, and his 29-year-old mistress, Harriet Lowe, were found covered in blood by a delivery man bringing an order into the store. I think he was a bread man. He had began knocking on the door because they were supposed to be open, and everything was locked up. And finally, Lewis comes to the door, and he's like kind of all out of his head, and he's like, what? And he's bleeding badly from his eye, and this guy freaks out, and he's like, okay, well, where's your wife? Because he's assuming that they're married because they live together, and he's like, I don't know. And he finds Harriet back in the bedroom, and she's been hit in the head like twice, and her skull's cracked open, and it's not pretty. She's lost a lot of blood, but they both survived. The police come, discover a scene similar to the previous, and they find that the weapon's been left behind again, a dull axe. And the fact that it was dull is probably what saved their lives. If it had been sharp.
Worst killer of all time. I don't understand how this guy got away. He's too stupid to finish the job. No one can catch you.
Once again, nothing had been taken. But there was no sign of any forced entry, no sign of struggle. And Harriet's injuries were a lot worse than Lewis's. And he had seemed pretty nonchalant about Harriet's condition.
His mistress?
Yeah, well, something like that. It was a weird situation. I think he had been married before, divorced.
Today it would be called complicated.
No, it was more like she paid him to work for him, but he offered to marry her, but they just never got married. Something like that.
He and his wife actually weren't divorced. She showed up.
Okay.
His wife came back into town.
Okay. See, I didn't hear
during all of this.
I heard she was in Ohio. I heard she lived in Ohio.
She came back into town for the trial.
Okay. Which we'll get to.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Okay. So
sounds complicated.
So while Lewis only had this small, mark over his eye, like it gashed over his eye, she had been hit in multiple times in the chest and arms, and had been hit in the head twice, and her skull was split.
She's got defensive wounds, then, so she.
Yeah.
She was,
And in the hospital, the police try to question her, but she's fucking hopped up on morphine. And let's face it, she's had some brain damage, obviously, and she claimed that a Milano man had attacked her. So, they're like, okay. So they go and pick up.
What does Milano man mean? Is that like a kind of ice cream?
Yeah, it's the black and white kind. Yeah, it's the black and white kind. I think we call that mixed these days.
That's gelato, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gelato, yeah. Which is Italian, so I mean, you're close.
I'm trying to break this up a little bit in between the killing.
Come on, Matt. This might be a two-parter, dude.
Okay.
So the cops go pick up this gentleman named Louis Ubachon, who was a light-skinned black shop assistant who worked occasionally for Bessemer in the store. And after several days of questioning, they released him. They couldn't find anything to tie him to any of this. He had a pretty good alibi. So, so they go back, and in July, Harriet, who's still in the hospital, had now claimed that Lewis was a German spy. And remember, this is during World War I, and they don't fuck around with that kind of shit. So they talked to his neighbors, and they say he had boasted that he spoke over a dozen languages. He was secretly wealthy. He traveled a lot, sold his goods for less than he probably should, because how the hell was he making money? And the press had a field day with it, and they exploited it like they always do.
No.
And so they take him in for questioning, and he's kind of an arrogant fucking asshole. And I'm going to solve. He says he's going to solve this crime, because
Did he have a curly?
He's smarter than the cops, and he was in no way involved in this. And in the meantime, Harriet's she's in and out of her head. She goes back and forth recanting her story until August, when she finally tells the police that Lewis had been the one that had attacked her unprovoked, and that she said that he came at her with an axe, and he was naked when he did so.
Okay. A person coming at you with an axe, pretty scary. A butt naked person coming at you with an axe?
Well, like a 60-year-old naked man coming at you with an axe.
That's fucking terrifying.
To me, it is.
Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
Remember that movie?
Uh-huh.
Jesus. No
Dude,
thanks.
Dude looks like a lady.
I want you to be fully clothed.
Dude looks like a matey. Dude looks like a lady. So
you do remember Sleepaway Camp.
She died 10 days after this telling of the cops, and then from complications with multiple surgeries and contracting meningitis from probably all this trauma that she'd gone through. So at that point, Bessemer's charged with attempted murder. The day after she's died, he's put in prison for 9 months. And I will let Miss Lindy take over right here, because I don't have the part about her, about his ex-wife coming into town, who's apparently not his ex-wife.
Oh, yeah. So they did find Louis Bessemer's wife, and she ended up coming back into town. They had essentially separated. She was gone to another state living with family, but she did come back. Okay. They were still married. And she attended the trials, and she is actually the one who put the end to his German spy, Russian spy, because they found a bunch of letters in the house that were all written in different languages and stuff.
Right.
So there was like letters in German, letters in Russian. I think there were 2 other languages there were letters written in, and she was like, he's not a German spy. Not even a really good guy, and he's pretty much too weak to wield an axe, so
yeah.
What are we doing here? And then she took off again, so.
She's like, fuck that guy, I'm out of here.
I think back in the day, if they found a letter that was in a different language, they're like, "You're guilty of some shit. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're definitely guilty of something. I can't read this."
Well, it turns out he would buy all this shit at wholesale prices. Like he'd buy it in bulk, and then he could sell it cheaper, some items, and then some of the items in his store he actually sold a lot more. He charged a lot more than some of the other stores that were around him. So, regardless, so he goes to prison for 9 months, but then he's later acquitted when they realize he's not the Axeman. He's not the Axeman because just days after he was sent to prison, the Axeman attacked 28-year-old Mary Snyder. On August 4th, 1918, Mary was 8 months pregnant, home alone, when she woke to the sound in the middle of the night and saw a man over her bed in the dark, and she screamed. And that's all she could remember before she passed out. Her sister lived next door, and when she heard Mary screaming, she ran over, found Mary with a giant wound on her head. Her teeth had been broken, and she rushed her to the hospital. Mary would survive and give birth to her daughter several days later. When the police questioned her, though, she couldn't remember anything other than seeing this shadow over her bed.
No shit. I got this gash in my fucking forehead.
Well, it's like you just like this guy's hitting people when they're sleeping, so they're not seeing shit,
Exactly.
Yeah. So when the cops search her home, they find no sign of forced entry, and they determine that he probably had used a lamp as a weapon to attack her with. But the weird thing was she's not a grocer. She wasn't Italian. So it's kind of back to square one. I'm not sure if this is technically an axe murder by the Axeman.
I think this is where they came in and added an additional MO, was that he was actually attacking women.
Yeah.
And then we're just kind of getting in the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, is this how they did abortions back then? Just two birds? Kind of.
You're going to hell for that one, buddy. So when the papers reported this victim, this is where they gave the attacker his new name, the Axeman. I honestly think a lot of this shit was probably the papers. Like anytime a crime would happen and someone would get hurt, it could have just been the papers. Like, well, fuck, now we'll sell some more fucking papers. It's got to be the Axeman. And I'm not talking about that guy who smells like he has too much cologne on either. That's not the Axeman. All right, so less than a week after Mary gets,
bro.
Dude.
I get where you're going, bro.
All right, bro. All right. So less than a week later, on August 10th, 1918, the Axeman set out to claim another victim. This time, he headed to the corner of Tantia and Gravier Streets, where 15-year-old Pauline Bruno and her sister, 13-year-old Mary Bruno, were sleeping in their cottage that they shared next to their small grocery store. Their uncle, Joe Romano, also lived with them. He was 31. He was a barber. Around 3 a.m., Pauline woke up to the sound of banging furniture and loud noises coming from her uncle's room, and then it just stopped suddenly. Just silence. So she sat up. She looks in the doorway, and she sees this tall, heavy-set man wearing a dark suit standing in the hallway just outside her door. She screams. This wakes her sister up, who also starts screaming, and this person bolts out of the house. So they get up, and they go to check on Uncle Joe, and they found him stumbling around in the parlor, and, he's telling them to, call an ambulance, and he's just got blood running down his neck and his head.
He's not doing well, then.
He's not doing so good. So he slumped over in this chair.
Oh, my sauce is going to burn.
Oh, fuck. So he slumps over in this chair, and he passes out. And when medics arrive, he's actually manages to get up and walk out of the house by himself, unaided, to be taken to the hospital. But within 2 hours, he was dead from blood loss.
But I did read something that before he died, he came up with an invention. It was crazy. It was the flux capacitor when he fell off hit his head on the toilet seat. He was like, yeah. I can turn the noodles into circles and we make SpaghettiOs. Where that came from?
It's me, Mario. Oh shit.
Like, I gotta break it up. It's getting dark.
I know, it's really dark. This whole fucking thing's dark. That's all I've been reading for like about a week and a half. Is over and over. Really good book by Miriam Davis called The Axeman of New Orleans. Damn, it's dark.
It's super dark.
So dark.
It's that evil music.
Mm-hmm. Goddamn jazz motherfuckers. So he had been struck in the head once, but the wound head was so deep that it had penetrated his brain, which is also what I like to call brain damage.
It definitely.
Yeah. So they would find
you
the
just
axe.
got a ditch in your forehead now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So they would find that the weapon, a bloody axe, used in the murder on the bedroom floor of Joe's
fucking
bedroom.
cocky is that? It's like, oh, I know they're gonna have an axe. I don't need to bring my own weapon. I'm just gonna leave it every time.
Sounds like just a lazy motherfucker.
Or he thinks he's such a badass that he's so above it.
Maybe
Like,
he
yeah,
thinks he's a
anyway.
badass, but he's a lazy motherfucker. It can be both.
He's also trying to kill people while they're sleeping and failing numerous times.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So by the end of August of 1918, there were several Italian grocery stores that had temporarily closed up shop. People were out buying guns to protect their families. According to what I read, 46% of the population had purchased some sort of weapon during this time. That's pretty fucking high.
I would guess it's 98.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of these people were staying up all night watching over their families with shotguns. And
fuck yes.
Neighbors would take turns doing like night watches throughout the night in the neighborhoods.
I would have definitely made deals with my neighbors. I'd be like, we're gonna, you take a nap for 2 hours and then we'll swap back and forth. And
right. Copycat burglars began using chisels to break into homes, leaving axes behind just to kind of throw the cops off. And this overwhelmed the police department. And then the public, was constantly questioning their ability to protect and serve.
The police department could have been overwhelmed by his speeding ticket.
Yep. So the chief, Frank Mooney, he insisted to the papers that they were going to capture this murderous maniac come hell or high water. And he put extra cops on patrol in the area. But the Axeman just patiently waited for the next victim. In September that year, the Spanish flu broke out in New Orleans. And within a few weeks, thousands of cases had been reported throughout the city. And the whole Axeman thing kind of died down in the news cycle. And then nothing happened for quite a while. By November, the headlines, were talking about the end of World War I that year. And still no Axeman. He just patiently waited. So on March 10th, 1919, the Axeman had found his next victims, but this time not in New Orleans. Just over the Mississippi River in Gretna, a suburb of New Orleans, the Axeman attacked the Courtmiglia family, killing 2-year-old Mary Courtmiglia, who had been struck in the back of her neck several times, and brutally.
Hang on. Why do you always do episodes
parents.
like this?
Hey, dipshit, that's my line. I figured I'd fucking one up you. How you like it? How you like it now? How you like it now?
I don't like it a lot.
Oh, it sucks, doesn't it?
It does a little bit.
Yeah.
It's better if I know what's coming.
Yeah, right. I didn't realize that he actually killed a child until I actually started researching this a little more, and yeah, same reaction you did. Her parents, Charles and Rosie, were both struck several times as well. The neighbors found them, called the police, and rushed them to the hospital, and they weren't sure they were going to live. The Gretna police force embarked on a very amateurish investigation where fingerprints were contaminated. The broken back door was fixed immediately, and tons of people were fucking allowed to go in and out through this crime scene.
Are you telling me they trampled all over the crime scene?
Pretty much, yeah.
No way.
They botched up any chance of gathering any fucking evidence.
This was long before they put the no media, no anything in crime scenes. So it was just free reign for any media to come in prior to the police, prior to...
They didn't have the tape.
No tape.
The yellow tape to go around the house.
Nobody could spell.
Oh, come on in and look around. Yeah.
Nobody could
There's blood
spell
over there.
that shit anyway, yeah.
Step through this and walk on this and touch that if you want to. Is this the axe you used?
So
That might
the police, after their very fucked up little stupid investigation, they thought that two of their neighbors, a 68-year-old Orlando, which is a fucked up name to pronounce, by the way, Giordano, and his 17-year-old son Frank. They thought
wait, his name was what?
Orlando.
And he named his son just Frank.
Fuck, I would too if my name was Orlando. Poor bastard. So
Right.
they threw the cops threw this really loose theory that the Giordanos had a rivalry with the Cortmiglias after Charles and Rosie had opened up a grocery store, which was like competing with their grocery store.
Grocery store beef murders.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually Rosie who said that it was the other grocery store owners, Orlando and his son Frank.
Yeah,
She was the one who pressed the charges. Okay.
But
That's right, Lindy. Get on his ass.
That's right, but we're getting to that. We're getting to that because there's a lot of a lot of fucked up shit that goes on before we get to that.
There is.
So the attack had come after Orlando had taken them to court over a business dispute. I guess they had maybe borrowed money or were supposed to pay him rent, and he was going to kick them out because they hadn't paid. But apparently it had been all cleared up. They were good. But the cops didn't care. The Gretna cops said, fuck this. This was a fucking vendetta killing. And they thought this 60-year-old fucking arthritic guy who could barely see because he was almost blind had chiseled a small opening through the door. And then his son, who was like 6'2" and weighed like 240, could fit through this little fucking hole in the door that they had made. Okay? And then, by the way, they snuck upstairs and they took an axe to a little girl that this guy had known since she was born, and he had watched her and babysat her while her parents worked, and she referred to him as Grandpa. Sounds like a fucking solid theory, doesn't it?
It does. They nailed it. I mean, it doesn't sound like they were just wanting to sweep it under the door and say, yeah, we solved it. This is
fucking
good. Everybody's
weak
fine.
ass shit, dude. Like if this was fucking... This is like my mom's kind of cup of coffee. Weak ass shit.
They also reported that Rosie was holding Mary when
the
little girl was killed. So.
Yes. I think when they found them...
make it worse.
When they found them, they were all in the bed, she was holding her in her arms, but they were all just bloody as fuck. So the cops knew that this evidence was pretty weak, so they decided to secure for themselves an eyewitness account. So as soon as Rosie was released from the hospital, she was arrested. She was denied a lawyer, and
was legal back then?
They said they were protecting her,
from a lawyer.
No. The cops arrested her.
Oh no, yeah, but protected her from having a lawyer.
Yeah, under no illusions did they let her think that she was going to be let free until she remembered who the attackers were. So basically, after spending a day and a night in jail and just being hounded over and over, and said, these guys fucking did this, didn't they? They just fucking did it. So she finally just relented and said, yeah, okay, they fucking did it. And she couldn't write English. So they had to write a statement for her in English, which she signed and didn't even know what the fuck it said. She just signed it. She just wanted to get the fuck out of jail. I mean, here you go. Your kid just fucking died. You almost died. And the cops are fucking hounding you and like, you're the one in jail.
Yeah, these are the cops that came after Brandon Dassey, but only they didn't have fucking cameras running.
Yeah.
To hear what they were doing. It's like, you will say this or you will stay here.
Pretty much.
We got to get people off our ass, and we got to solve this immediately.
Cheers to the fucking great police department down there.
One of these days, we will do a good one. I swear to God, one of these days, we will have a super cop of some sort.
Lindy, I think you got a job. There you go. Find a good one. Find a good one like that. Yeah. Good luck.
Look for it, man.
Okay.
Hey, look at Jack the Ripper. Oh, wait, never mind. What about
there?
So the police forced her to sign this, even though she couldn't read the English, like I said. No way of knowing what the fuck she was signing. But it was enough to convince a jury, despite her husband's Charles stating under oath that these two guys were not the guys that fucking attacked him, that he could remember. So Orlando is sentenced to life imprisonment, and his son Frank is sentenced to hang.
What?
Yeah.
Over nothing.
Yeah. Because Rosie's out of her fucking head. Yeah, and
Good
the
job,
cops
boys.
are just like,
we
"Yep,
got this done.
got this done. It's Miller time, boys. Yeah, let's break it
On
out."
to the next.
Fucking dipshits. So on March 14th, a letter that was allegedly from the Axeman was received at the Times-Picayune newspaper in New Orleans. And apparently the Axeman was a little upset that someone else had been credited for his handiwork.
This does roll back into Jack the Ripper quite a bit. Like,
Yeah. Some people think that this letter was actually written by a local jazz musician named John DeVilla as a marketing ploy in an attempt to sell more copies of his single, The Mysterious Axeman's Jazz.
well played, my man.
Which
Okay, I get that.
was conveniently released that same week, by the way.
Well played. That's just marketing. I mean, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But
Everybody would do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I totally do it too. The paper published the letter anyway, just in an attempt to possibly appease the Axeman and prevent further attacks. And they waited 2 days before they printed it, though. They were just like, should we do this? Should we do this? Should we do? Fuck yeah, let's do it. We're going to sell some papers.
Is this where everybody has to play jazz music? Or
Nah.
Not yet?
I tell you what, Lindsay, do you have this? Do you have this letter? Do you have the text?
Get
okay,
after it.
here's what
All
we
right.
can do. I'm going to ski bop over it in the background while you read this, okay?
Oh, this is fucking... Jesus, what are you doing?
You want me to read the whole thing?
Fuck
Yes!
Okay.
I'm going to giggle.
You are going to Google. This letter is super surprising.
Okay.
Hell, March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal, they have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible. Even as the ethers surround your earth, I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, be smeared with blood and brains of he who I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc., but tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you New Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night at will. I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I'm going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I'm going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that has ever existed, either in fact or realm of fantasy, the Axeman.
Well done, guys. Well
My
done.
favorite part's where he says "from my nether regions."
Yeah, I had to mute. I had to mute my mic there for a bit because I'm afraid if I start laughing,
yeah, that was the whole
he's gonna
point.
start laughing.
We got to laugh about.
She's gonna
shit like
laugh.
that.
I'm gonna laugh.
Now, like I said, it's speculated that apparently this worker, this blue collar worker, there's no way they could have fucking written something like that. So more than likely, it was someone like this DeVille person who wrote the letter. But it's still fun. It's
so
fun.
harkens. It just goes back to Jack the Ripper, though. I mean,
yeah,
writing the letters in,
which I will not touch. You've already claimed that one. That's on you. Good luck with that shit.
Oh, I'm gonna have to really do that one really solid, or I'm gonna get attacked real hard.
Yeah, you're probably gonna get attacked.
Are fucking into Jack the Ripper.
I know.
I'm gonna say that Lindy did all the research, and she will be on the episode. So if I say some stupid shit, I will
You're gonna blame Lindy. Got it. All right, here we go.
Nope, that was Mary, you dumb cunt. Okay.
Oh, shit.
I got it. All right. Yeah, be that direct too. I need it every once in a while.
So that following Tuesday, after this letter is written or published, okay, it's St. Joseph's Day, and the citizens took it to heart. Then everybody, they went to the clubs, they had hired jazz musicians, or they got their kids to play jazz. Everybody stayed up well after dawn playing jazz, and guess
what?
what?
You telling me they just stayed up, listened to jazz, and done some drinking? What a horrible punishment.
I bet they smoked some weed, dude.
No.
Yeah.
Let's not get crazy.
Fucking jazz people, man. Yeah.
Fucking evil jazz.
You can put your weed in there.
They play the drums amazingly.
Right. Amazingly. So the Axeman did not attack that night. So let's see here. The next attack didn't occur until August 10th, 1919, when another grocer named Steve Boca was attacked in his bedroom as he slept. He apparently awoke during the night to find a dark figure looming over his bed, and he suffered a blow from an axe, but he survived. And upon regaining consciousness, he ran to the home of his neighbor, Frank Genessa, where he lost consciousness and collapsed. He was then treated for his injuries, but was unable to remember any of the details of the attack. And once again, nothing was taken from the home. Panel on the back door had been removed and chiseled away.
Well,
this one is probably
it's a hit. It's definitely a hit.
This is probably not the Axeman. Miriam Davis actually says this is probably just a robbery gone wrong, and someone trying to copycat to make it look like it was the Axeman. There was another one similar to this.
But he didn't take anything, right?
Right. I think he probably got scared off though. Another similar
if you made
attack
it through
like
the
this.
whole initial strike to the head, you should be. I mean, you should be in the game at this point. I mean, really,
right.
Shouldn't be the part that scares you off.
On September 2nd, another.
Grab something.
God damn! Grab something. A hoagie, I don't care.
Now you got to live with it, but you didn't.
Calzone, something. Grab something.
You didn't benefit a damn thing. The dude's got like some fucking Sunday sauce recipe downstairs you could have fucking taken, and he was locked away in a vault. KFC's, however many spices they use.
Oh shit, Matt. So September 2nd, this druggist named William Carson escaped what he assumed to be the Axeman when he fired several shots at an intruder who he heard breaking into his home, and the killer left the door was broken and there was an axe left at the scene.
Okay, here's some facts.
Once
if
again,
you're breaking in with an axe and the dude's firing shots at you, you're gonna fucking leave.
I dial 357, motherfucker.
The person that lives in the house wins.
Yes, yeah.
If you're firing shots and all you have is an axe,
who the judge?
You lose.
I'm the judge. I hold the judge. So there was another attack on another young girl on September 3rd. The next night, a girl named Sarah Lauman, who claimed that she was attacked with an axe while she slept. When neighbors came to check on her, they discovered she was lying unconscious in her bed, suffering from a severe head injury and missing several teeth. though she suffered a
God,
concussion.
that just hurts. Okay,
She
You
recovered.
got to stop right there. You got to.
And an axe was discovered on the lawn.
Axe to the head sounds terrible.
Boot
Missing
to the cool.
teeth.
Axe to the head.
hurts
Boot
more.
to the cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. Yeah, I guess like
Anything to the teeth. As soon as I hear it, I'm like, God, that sounds like so much pain.
And he did that to 2 of the victims.
Yeah.
Just
The 2 single women that he attacked, he did it to both of them.
just blunt side to their mouth.
Yeah, I'm guessing this. I'm guessing the
Shattered
Axeman.
all of their teeth.
I'm guessing the Axeman couldn't get it up.
Oh, most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of killers go for it for a sexual thing, and I don't doubt that the axe. If he was using an axe this many times, that was part of his fantasy. I imagine he came in his pants every time he took a swing. That's
Probably the only way you could get off. All right. Well.
okay. So that was gross. Let's get back into the story, Zach. Sorry that I put you on a detour there for a second.
Oh, you're good. You're good. We're only an hour in. I thought we're doing all right.
Okay. All right.
So, October 27th is the final attack that is considered the Axeman. 35-year-old grocer named Mike Pepitone was murdered in his home. That night, his wife heard a noise, went to the bedroom, and just as she gets to the door, she sees this large axe-wielding man fleeing the scene. Apparently, her husband had been struck in the head, was covered in his own blood. She was unable to describe any characteristics of the killer, but all the usual clues were left behind. After the paper ran the story, the police discovered that Mike had been involved in the killing of another Italian man with his father 10 years prior, and this had probably been a killing in retaliation, like a vendetta killing.
Right. Okay.
But the papers didn't give a shit. They ignored it, and they said, "That's the Axeman. Axeman strikes again." So, fear sold papers, man, and they weren't there to, do anything else. So, authorities continued to work on this case, but the Axeman was never seen or heard from in New Orleans again.
So I can't stop putting things together with Jack the Ripper.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of similarities, but I think
that was 1888, and this started in what 1912.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people said it's like this person could have been this person, and they also said like the H.H. Holmes could have been.
This wasn't his MO though. This wasn't Jack's MO. So like, unless he just completely changed things up.
Yeah. Well, I start diving into things, and they don't get your dick up anymore. Maybe an axe will do it instead of a fucking razor blade. It's like, maybe I get off harder if they don't die.
Yeah.
Just punish
Maybe
them.
he just needed a little more world.
Right.
Oh shit! I'm
Jack the
stressed.
Ripper always took off with body parts, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No body parts were taken.
Okay.
So,
And no
And
valuables either.
The person who wrote this, $200 was taken from one person out of their wallet. That was the only actual robbery.
Yeah, but $200 in 1912. How much was that? Fuck's sake!
That's
You'd
a
be
lot.
all right.
but most of the
Yeah,
time, it was
well,
like if any money was taken, it was like $5, $7. It wasn't. It was a really small amount. Basically,
Whatever's quickest to
the
grab a
cops
hold of.
probably thought it was just to kind of throw off and make them think that it was a robber because they left behind a fucking shitload of money. Like at one point, it was like $600 was left behind with a gun. Now, if you're breaking into somebody's house and there's $600 laying there and a gun, don't you take both?
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
This is.
I'm taking both.
Yeah, this sounds like a hit. Like you got to get in there and do this and get out, but this guy sucked at it for the
Right.
most part. I mean, a lot of people lived. I mean, you're just a terrible hitman.
I guess. I don't know.
Chose a bad weapon.
I didn't know.
Well,
there's such a
apparently
thing
you
as
chose a good
I didn't
one.
know there was a
You
good
never got
hitman.
fucking caught.
There's a good hitman? There's such a thing as a good hitman?
If you ever need it, I suppose there is. I'll just give some advice to you. If you can afford it, it's a cop.
guy. You need something done. I know a guy. That's all I'm saying.
That's my advice. If you're looking for a hitman and you're like, yeah, that sounds reasonable, it's a cop and you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because they don't do that. Okay, I'm good.
All right.
Sorry.
I do have some good news. On February 3rd in 1920, after she contracted smallpox and she was afraid she's going to die.
That's the good news?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wait. Rosie Cortamiglia, the girl, that said that, the old guy with arthritis and was blind fucking killed her daughter. She
Right.
recanted her statement to the Times-Picayune or Picayune. Fuck all these fucking weird ass names. I can't say
Such
shit
weird
today.
names down there, man. I don't
and
know. It's on them.
By December
It's
of
their
that
fault.
year in 1920, all charges had been dropped against Orlando and Frank Giordano. Okay, they were.
Okay, well, how long did they?
18 months they spent in prison.
Over nothing.
Over nothing. Yep. That same month that they were released, Frank Mooney stepped down as the police chief. In the aftermath of all these murders, he faced so much intense scrutiny and criticism for his failure to catch this Axeman. After 2 years of all these attacks and murders, he had found nothing, had nothing to show for it. So he basically cut his losses, and he claimed to the press that his days with detective work in public office were over.
Good.
That December, though, similar crimes started to take place in and out and throughout Louisiana. In is it Garroter and Alexandria, and all involved Italian grocers and their families attacked by an axe-wielding assailant with nothing stolen.
Every town in Louisiana, when you bring it up, it sounds like something my DM would have made up. Is this where we're going on our journey today for Dungeons and Dragons? So it's like, is that a real town?
Right? What the fuck is that? So after that, no further attacks were attributed to the Axeman at all, and he was never caught. His true identity remains a mystery to this day. And, most people think that, since most of these people were Italian Americans, he probably had a vendetta against the Italian community. Others think that he was just a rogue jazz musician or a hitman hired by the mafia to carry out some killings. But no one knows for sure, obviously these were horrific crimes, inspired a lot of books, movies, songs, stories. That fucking Jazzman Jazz by some fucking jazz guy. And
that's a toe tapper.
Yeah, it's a serious toe topper, I'll tell you what. It still remains to be one of the most chilling and intriguing unsolved mysteries from American history today. It's been over 100 years. No one's figured it out. But
well done.
If you want to explore more about this, I really recommend reading this book, The Axeman of New Orleans by Miriam Davis. I was lazy and I actually listened to it on Audible. But, it goes into exquisite detail about the whole...
Well, you're not lazy. You drive for a living. I'd rather you listen to it than read it behind the wheel. Fuck's sake.
It makes it easier anyway. But there are like 4 chapters on just Orlando's and Frank's trial. It goes into extreme detail, and fuck did it piss me off. No. So bad. Yeah.
But one of our stories made you upset.
Most of
Can't
them.
believe it.
Unless we're talking about Bigfoot. My brother Bigfoot. Lindy, you got anything to add? Did I miss anything?
You can still go look up the newspaper articles from this time. That'll actually give you the layouts of the grocery stores and stuff. And there is an Axeman's Ball happening in New Orleans on March 18th.
Sweet. I'm definitely not going to check that out, but
I thought you was going to pay for us to both go, or all 3 of us to go, Zach.
That'd be great. Well, yeah.
Get off your wallet, knock the dust off that son of a bitch, and take us to New Orleans.
We need. I'm down.
The website for the ball does give some descriptions and stuff and some theories on who it is and.
Okay.
What's your thought?
So it's actually kind of neat little website. My thought?
Yes.
I think it was rival grocers.
Really?
I think it was grocery store killers killing grocery stores.
I think we're on the same page.
Yeah. It was a grocery store beef, and then, this guy did it this way, so I'm going to do it this way, so that they all think it's the same guy. Which, yep.
My theory is
many people
were that, or it was somebody that got really sick from somebody's fucking spice of meatball, and he couldn't figure out who it was. So he's like, "Well, maybe it was that one. Well, we better double check."
Fuck them all.
Fuck them all up.
There you go. Oh man, she's primed for this podcast. Really, there's no breaking in. She's come right in.
It is what it is.
Fuck them all.
All right, she's definitely listened to the podcast before. For sure.
Perfect.
Well, guys, Matt, you got anything else, man?
No, we didn't get into the Black Hand, but
That's all right.
mean,
The Black Hand was like the mafia.
before the mafia.
Before that was called the mafia. Yeah.
But they were extorting money from their own people.
Yeah. For protection
You
against
watch
them.
Goodfellas, it's like, fuck you, pay me.
Yeah.
And if you can't, they'll burn your shit down, or they'll
Pretty
break it
much.
down, or you're going to pay or you can't. And if you can't pay, then fuck your shit.
Yeah, there were a couple of the guys that they thought maybe have been the Axeman that actually were extorting people for money, and one guy in particular met his end when he killed somebody's husband, and he came to collect more money from the wife, and she just shot him in the house, just boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
It was pretty badass.
That
I
was
thought.
the last one, right? The last guy that died.
Yeah,
Mike
but
Pepperstone. It was his wife that did that.
no, actually, some people say that that's tied to a story from a different book, but that was all just stories.
Can argue.
If you want to find out the real version of that, I recommend reading Miriam Davis's book, The Axeman of New Orleans. She spent so many years researching this in the library in New Orleans, where they kept all these records of all the news. She had all the newspaper articles, and she could tie it in with all the police reports and all the autopsy reports. And she did a really, really good job of putting this together. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
I only have.
You just have that?
I just had one page for this.
Oh, I'll see your one page and I'll raise you.
Okay,
10,
I know.
they're all stuck together, but yeah, there you go.
Wait till,
There's 10.
wait till next epised.
We came,
I'm
we
gonna
saw,
keep Liddy on it to help
drank
me.
some beers. All right. Well, Lindy, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you so
guys, once
Thank
again,
you.
continue to like, rate, and review the podcast. And
Please, it helps out so much.
It does.
I mean, I know people are tired of hearing it, but it seriously does.
Yeah, they are seriously tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
But guys, once again, thanks for everything. And until we see you again, I will see you next Tuesday. This is Zach. And
Lindy.
Yep. All right, guys. Until then, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Later.
Later.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
I was with you.
They're coming to get you. By the power of Christ.
This is Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
And I'm still waiting for Lindy to come in on your ass. Just
I know,
fucking
I'm waiting
attack
too.
you. I
I
just
keep
can't
going
wait.
slow.
So she's like,
Come
motherfucker,
on.
that isn't even close.
Come on. You're like,
I hope it's not me. I
You
don't
got
have.
it all right so far.
Christ.
God, Zach, you're doing good.
I'll be back. I'm
Fuck's
gonna
sake.
pee my
I
pants.
know.
Attack him anyway.
Okay.
Be right back. Would it not be prudent? Is that what you're going for there? With that?
At this juncture, wouldn't be prudent. Wouldn't be
All
prudent.
right, okay.
All right, ready?
Kill that shit. All right.
All right.